Hi everyone, my name is Suga and I'm 70 years old and I'm a student. Today I want to talk about my language learning experience, which I think will be interesting for a lot of people. So, how did I start learning languages? First, I'm Suga and I'm Ghanaian. But I live here in Ivory Coast, where I was born, and I actually can be called an Ivorian because I spent most of my life here in Ivory Coast, precisely in Aboissou, where I started to go to school, kindergarten, primary school, and presently in high school. I'm in college, and I'll be soon at university after my final exams if I pass with flying colors. Since my childhood, I was pretty good at school and I was always the first in terms of rank. Gradually, as I was moving on and on, class to class, I finally got to college where I started learning English as a second and foreign language. That was my first language in college, and I laughed for a second time. You guys may wonder why I said second time, cause before getting to high school, I started loving the language since primary school. Yeah, that's true. English has always been a passion for me since the class of CM1. And once I got in college, it was hands down the best way to realize my dreams. Then, during the life at school, I was getting much interest in it. However, by the time I was not able to speak the language, frustrated me a lot until I got the fourth form at school. I attended a vacation studies where we brush up on our knowledges before I and my friends get back to school for the New Year challenge. There was a guy who came in our class and we were tattling out loud in the class, and all of a sudden we stopped talking and were now silent because when he stepped into the class he went directly in front of us, and the teacher also entered the class after the guy. Later on, the teacher thought that the guy was here for a challenge between I or my friends, including against the guy, when he suggested to put or write a topic on the blackboard so that we can discuss it. And that's how the ball started rolling. He was speaking English as he was from Britain or Australia or somewhere else. And my first impression was, wow, I couldn't believe that it was a student who was in the next class where I'll be after my present year at school, and he was able to speak English and was realizing one of my dreams, which is speaking English as my native language. This was really amazing to me. Then I started envying the guy and telling him to show me how he made it with the language. But that was not necessary because his method of learning would be quite strange for me because I was indeed a beginner. And that was like a wake up call for me because after the presentation of this guy, I immediately understood how people is important or how English is important for being read, inverted comma, and to be spoken because of its clarity, its beautiful vocabulary, and also its pronunciation. I got back home with a lot of energy, motivation, which enabled me to start working by myself because the school curriculum doesn't teach us how to speak nor listening or improve both skills. I then started listening a lot and I got back from the rudimentary words. I mean the basics of the language. I also kept with pronunciation, and after 5 months, I had a lot of phrases, expressions native speaker used in real life, and was able to speak it, but not able to hold a conversation. However, I kept going with my studies till I started conversing with people, and then I became confident by interacting with folks, and I was between beginner and intermediate or simply upper beginner. How did you acquire an American accent? Seemingly, how did I acquire an American accent? As above mentioned, firstly, I was not speaking with an American accent before. It was actually British. So why did I move on the American one? English, as I said before, is a stress time language, and the fact that native speakers were speaking it makes me jealous because I wanted to have the same kind of accent. That's where everything about American accent starts. I did a lot of researches on the internet, and I discovered that there is a simple techniques about having an accent as close as to native speakers. Then I started researching of people who learn English and acquire an American accent despite they were native in French. And that's motivated me a lot because I figured out that it was a thing that I could achieve because there were already people who did it, and why not me? The fact of thinking about it gives me so much energy to work on accent. I started working on accent precisely stress pardons or word stress because I understood that everything was on it, and that's the difference between my native language and English. So I divided a lot of time practicing word stress, and with times I mastered it. But still not so perfect to be close or sound like a native speaker. I felt frustrated because I was not perfect when I speak English, but I didn't give up. I stuck at it and looked for new ways to perform, and eventually I found and other ways to be perfect or speak English with ease. And this method is called chunking messages. It's basically help having an accent a little bit American, but the whole reward has to be on listening. I spent all my life listening to English content, watch movies, and most important, mimicking native speakers and speak as well because understanding them, pronouncing words and phrases prompted me to produce the same sound as well. Over 2 years studying by myself, I had acquired a lot of things and knowledge than the years spent at school, and all this relied on the decision that I took being able to speak with an accent a little bit close to native speakers. So the next will be, why did you start by yourself in English and not other languages?